Welcome to lesson 20 of an introduction to marketing. Here we are at the very last lesson, and more than it being a lesson, it is just a review of the entire training plus some next steps for you. But first things first, I just really want to congratulate you. I want to say well done, because although we have called this course an introduction to marketing, you're actually comfortably among the top 10% of businesses, of consultants, entrepreneurs, coaches, because this is a very, very comprehensive training that you've just had. We wanted to say it is an introduction because we were introducing you to new thoughts and methods and principles and strategies, and even some tactics as well. But when you see 20 whole lessons here for you to go through, you really have done very well, and I just wanted to honor you and just say well done for that. But what we wanted to do in this final lesson is just go through and just summarize things. So if ever you were really pressed for time and you've gone through the whole course but you just want a few refreshers here and there and you just wanted to watch this video, that is the purpose of it. So in lesson 1 we asked why marketing, and in lesson 2 we asked what is marketing. Well, first of all, why you must become good at marketing. Marketing is the key skill necessary to getting and keeping customers while also building your business. Because the long and short of it is, if you have no customers, you have no business. Legendary management consultant Peter Drucker said that the purpose of business is to create and keep a customer. He also said that marketing and innovation were the main functions you needed to focus on, because all the other things that you do in a business are costs. So when we first moved over to marketing, he says we've just got to make sure that with our marketing we know and we understand our customers so well that the product, the service, the program we have fits them and it can sell itself. So when we say what is marketing and why is marketing so important, marketing is the intentional skill of getting customers. It is the most significant and important thing you can do to ensure the survival, the success, and the long-term outcome you want for your business and your life. And yes, we do sort of move over to this because on one side you have your business, but on the other side there are reasons you want to have your business. Maybe it's to provide security for those that you love. Maybe it is to positively impact the people who are part of your company. When we look at all these business skills that are important to have, as far as time management, reporting, accounting, hiring, staff, training, sales, the number one business skill is marketing. Because Joe Polish said this, and this is the interesting thing about it, because a lot of people say, well, look, if you're not bringing money into the business, then, so we would probably say that sales is more important. But listen to this then. Sales is what you do face to face or on the phone, whereas marketing is what you do to get someone on the phone or face to face. This was from Joe Polish. And you see, taking it a little bit further, Mr. Drucker had said that if we are doing our marketing correctly, then the sales process is superfluous. And let's just narrow down on that, what that means, because a lot of people, when they hear that word sales, they think, I've got to be pushy, I've got to bother people and things like that. So what we're saying is that if we can do marketing well enough, it's just a very natural progression to the sales process. But we need to avoid episodic marketing. Okay, and what we mean by that, it's almost like you wake up one morning and you say, okay, I better start marketing this. Or even worse, as I sort of had explained before, somebody in the media industry approaches you. So what happens is they come to you and they say, oh, look, we've got some space in our ad, or have you heard how cheap it is to do this kind of advertising? And that's almost like what jolts you into doing that. You need to be marketing all the time, every day, to suspects, prospects, customers, clients, strategic partners, and joint ventures. If you remember, we had gone through the sales loyalty ladder, and a suspect is somebody who you've got a good feeling that, hey, this could be an audience for me, this could be a particular category that would be interested. A prospect is somebody who has actually held their hand up and said, look, send me this information, or I'd like to download this coupon, or could you tell me more? Could you get somebody to call me? A customer is somebody who has made that one-off purchase. A client is someone who has made a repeat purchase. And then we've got our strategic partners and joint ventures. I mean, they're also advocates for you. These are people who will then go to their own audiences, their own circles of influence and promote what you have. So don't make your marketing an event, an art, or even a science. Now, I don't mean to contradict myself, because of course there are certain scientific elements of marketing, as there are, when we look at appearance, the art of it. But what I'm saying is make marketing a practice, meaning it's just part of what you do all the time. Remember, no customers, no business. But something I just really want to point out that I have not done at all in this course as of yet is that, sometimes actually going out of business is better than struggling in business. I mean, a failing business, when you're just sort of almost like feeling the wolves are just sort of coming around you, you've got more outgoings than you've got incomings. That's even worse, because you're going in every day and you're feeling it. So the purpose of this course was really to provide that sort of light at the end of the tunnel and give you everything you need to know to really focus on making marketing your number one business skill. So when we talked about those lessons 1 and 2, why marketing and what is marketing, those are the reasons. Next, lesson 3, we talked about the 2 types of marketing, and they were specifically brand marketing and direct response. If you remember, we focused on the brand marketing example. Here is Apple. You see a slick photo, you see a catchy slogan, touching is believing, but you don't see a whole lot of anything else. And then interestingly enough, with the direct response example, we also showed Apple, albeit Apple of many years ago. So the only type of marketing for you should be direct response. Lesson 4, we focused on marketing psychology, and the big thing that we really wanted to make a point here was that people at their core do not change. Yes, we look at a family way back in the day, but they are no different to this family in modern times when it comes to their hopes, their fears, the aspirations they have, what sort of really down at their core interests them and motivates them. We want to make sure with marketing psychology that you talk to your prospects and customers, listen closely to the information you get, and you keep going politely deep as you can, so you can ask them key questions. Then you use that information to craft your marketing messages. And when we talk about politely deep, we're just saying, continue to say, well, why do you want this, and what's the significance, and how do you feel something like this would really help you, and so on and so forth. And slowly but surely they would begin to really give you that material that will help you with your emails, your sales letters, your brochures, and your website copy. Lessons 5, 6, 7, and 8, we focused on the marketing triangle, or otherwise known as the 3 M's of marketing, made famous by this man, Dan Kennedy. And it basically consisted of the message, the what, the market, the who, and the media, the how. We also focused on thinking of it very much as a 3-legged stool, where each element of it is very important. If you took any one leg away from this stool here, you would fall on your backside, and we just feel very strongly that the similar thing would happen with your marketing. So first of all, we talked about the market, the who, right? And Drayton Bird, on creating marketing messages, said your marketing need not speak to everyone, but it must speak to someone. You must have someone in mind when you start crafting these messages. You want to avoid what we like to call that blind archery, where you're just sort of firing something out there and hoping that it hits someone or something, and you need to be very, very dialed in. Next, we looked at the message, or the what. You see, think of your message going out to all these different people, so it needs to stand out in order to get their attention. And this can only happen if there is a strong market to message match. And a lot of the time with your messages, make them niche related, and think about niches as needs. Lesson 8, we talked about the media, the how. And we want you to think of your media as a marketing toolbox. These are some examples of the different things that you can have inside your media compilation. Your website, landing pages, email, direct mail, social media, flyers and leaflets, brochures, newspaper ads, TV ads, postcards, and so much more. And the more tools you have in your marketing toolbox, the better. But what you want to do is you really want to spread that message out. Remember, we've got those pillars, and look at that strength and structure that you actually see there as well. So with that marketing results triangle, we've got the who, the market, the how, the media, and the message, the what. Lesson 9, we looked at marketing integration, but really it was marketing and media integration. We wanted you to understand the key difference between a promotion and a campaign. Promotion, think more of a kind of one-off where you're just saying, listen, we've got Mother's Day lunch taking place on this date, this price, come and get it. Whereas with a campaign, it was a lot more sequential, and we sort of focused a little bit on the political side of campaigns, where you see the President Obama before, he would be speaking to a crowd here, and then he would go and have dinner there, and then he'd be on a TV show here, and then he would go, it's all these different step-by-step stages. So what you really need to be doing with your campaigns is thinking, what happens next? And then we looked at integrating those campaigns, whereas you had sort of a message on a business card, that was one, and then taking somebody to a website, that's two, and then on the website you ask them to put in their email in exchange for some valuable information, that's three. After they do that, you send them to a video, and then you also put some retargeting on there. So you see how you can integrate all this different media and use these different platforms. So we said 5 forms here of integrated and sequential media. Lesson 10, we talked about the testing mindset plus what you should test. Now the first thing was a testing of ideas, right? You've always got to be thinking. Now we'll focus a little bit more on that when we talk about our creativity and innovation lesson, but you've always got to be testing things in an ongoing place and then go ahead and do that. So you think, I wonder if it would work here, or I wonder if it would work there, or I wonder if we change the offer a little bit, or I wonder if we did this and that. That needs to be going all the time. And then, of course, you test your existing marketing. So you have something which you call A, and then you try something that's maybe an alternative called B. Some of the things are the product, service, program that you have, the price, the way the price is offered. Is it a one-off, or is it, put a little bit down now and pay later? Is it try it out and then pay later? The media platform, the target audience, who are you going to? And then the creative, the way it actually looks. But above all, be okay about a lot of your marketing not actually working. Eben Pagan said that expect at least 80% of your advertising and marketing tests to fail. But he did go on to say it's because we're not flipping a coin, we are drilling for oil. And then once you have something that does work, that is called your control. You try and beat it. Brian Kurtz said that the control is your enemy, because what you're trying to do is you're constantly just trying to up the ante. Lesson 11, we looked at the importance of tracking. Why? Why do you track your marketing performances? Well, we don't want to waste additional money. This was a quote from a long, long time ago by John Wanamaker. Half the money I spend on advertising is wasted. The trouble is, I do not know which half. So there's no excuse in this day and age. So you want to track your marketing, the platform that it's on. If you have a clear call to action, one thing and one thing only. You see, too often you'll have some creative where you might see people saying, okay, do this, or you can do that, or you can check this, or you can check that. You just want to make sure that it's one thing to start with, so you can be very clear on how you are able to accurately track it. Then track via technology. We talked about the fact that you can get phone calls go through to a certain number that still has the same code as your normal phone number, and yet you're able to track it. So you can put a phone number on a website or in a magazine or a newspaper, and then you can check later via reporting, which you see here, about how many people that actually went to a specific ad in a specific magazine or on a specific website then made that phone call, and you're able to say straightly, very accurately, okay, this particular audience are more responsive than another one. Lesson 12, we talked about measuring. You're looking for areas you can improve. Peter Drucker says, listen, if you can't measure it, then how on earth can you improve it? And then the straight shooting Texan, Keith Cunningham, says that people don't want to measure, do not want to be held accountable. You've got to justify your marketing. You've got to justify your spend. And even better, the beautiful thing about this too is that you will be approached in future by web designers or graphic designers or videographers, and they'll say, look, in order to take your business to that next level, we can do this. And you can say to them, well, how can we measure the success? That's why it's so very important. So to begin with, just make sure you have clear evidence, because to start with, you're just trying to get a response, which then of course can lead to a sale, which will enable you to calculate your return on investment. Lesson 13 was this was a course in itself, and I'm not going to go too much into it. There are a few slides too, but it was marketing, creativity and innovation. But really it was a course on creativity and innovation, and we shared with you an innovation formula where we said invention, right? So creativity, another way of that is invention multiplied by commercialization equals innovation. But don't think that you have to reinvent the wheel. We showed so many businesses that you're very familiar with that just sort of took the ideas, got creative from maybe something that more established businesses had not done, and they really benefited from that. But to win big with creativity and innovation, we shared the types of innovation and the categories of innovation. And when you begin to combine these, that's when the magic really, really happens. Lesson 14 was on marketing strategy and knowing the difference and understanding the difference between principles, strategy, and tactics. Principles never change. Strategy seldom changes. Tactics changes all the time. So when we looked at Brian Tracy's principles of marketing strategy, his 4 principles were specialization. Is there a particular area you really want to specialize on? Differentiation. How are you different from all the other perceived options out there? Segmentation. Are you really going after that niche market and concentrating, putting all your focus on that? Lesson 15 was on education-based marketing. It's where you provide useful information that can immediately help the people you are looking to influence. And at the same time, you're going to create trust so that they come around to that point where they view you as their only option. If you remember, we talked about the aim of your marketing to make selling superfluous. Well, you educate them, they can make qualified decisions and see you as the only viable option. Lesson 16, we looked at the all-important role of copy in your marketing, because we want you to have the ability to sell to more than one person, right? So copy allows us to sell even when we are not there, and we can use it in addition to the traditional sort of sales letters and emails, posters. We can also use it in video scripts, audio podcasts, webinar presentations, ebook, marketing brochures, signs and posters. And these are the areas of copywriting focus that you really want to sort of make sure that that skill continues to move forward. Headlines, your features, benefits, advantages, understanding the difference between those 3. Use short, catchy sentences and paragraphs, powerful and personal copy. If your prospects are saying that something is bothering them for a reason, use that in your marketing. Informative relative to the offering, and always, always, always include that call to action. Lesson 16, part 2, we had a case study on the greatest living copywriter, Gary Bencivenga, who never lost a split run for some of the publications he wrote for. And you can find more on Gary Bencivenga, where he shares so much of what he did in Bencivenga Bullets, www.marketingbullets.com. Lesson 17 was marketing through positioning, and we looked at a classic book called Positioning by Al Ries and Jack Trout. And positioning is all in the mind. So what you want to do is you want to pay careful attention to what your competitors are doing, then decide on your positioning, so you move over, and then you allow your prospects to clearly see what you have in their mind, so they look at you at a certain level where they think, okay, this person or this business, this company, this product, this service offers something that nobody else does, and you become the only option. Lesson 18 was marketing automation, where it's important first to sell one-to-one in person or on the phone, then you sell to many using various integrated media, and only then we finally automate the entire process. But the word of warning was, if you've got bad or unclear strategy to begin with, it will only make things worse. So make sure that you get your strategy in place first. And never think of automation as being impersonal, because we're actually trying to make it more personal. Lesson 19 was for those of you who really wanted to go deep with learning marketing, and also have an opportunity to not sort of be pulled from pillar to post with all these options we see online. We highlighted what I call the Magnificent Seven, and best of all, every single one of these resources was free. But if you study these and go deep, this really will get you onto a different level. So that was an introduction to marketing, where got you to understand and apply the most important skills in business. And remember, please, if you've got no customers, you have no business. But thankfully, this course has enabled you to change all of that. Thank you so much for joining us for this class. We welcome your feedback, and I look forward to bringing another course and training to you very soon.